We have so much to celebrate at Doane, and one of the reasons for that is our current fourth-year president, Dr. Roger Hughes. Roger, come forward, and we look forward to your presentation.
Cody forgot to mention, he's also in the Hall of Fame, was inducted last year as well. So let's give Cody a great hand. You know, one of the things that we pride ourselves here at Doane is we use this Gallup drill called Strength Finders. And essentially what you do is you find out what your 5 strengths are so that you play to your strengths rather than try to work on a weakness, because you'll always be better at those strengths. My number 1 is competitive. Red, Cody just laid down the gauntlet. He said, you were the best president ever. It's on, baby. It's on. I'm just saying, it's on. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. This is a special night for our inductees and their families and friends. And it's also a special night for Doane. First, you've met my wife, Laura. If there's such a thing as a better half, she's a better 3/4. And if you haven't heard me speak before, I can get a little sappy. I can show a little bit too much emotion. So what we've developed here at Doane is a new fundraising idea where she's taking bets on when the first lip quiver occurs, how many lip quivers occur, do we get to a tier, how many times I have to hesitate. We'll keep 10% off the top, but you can have a chance to make some money. So get to Laura right now. As I make my presentation, you'll see what it is. I can't sometimes control myself because of the passion that I have for the people in this room and also for this place. We're thrilled to be here this evening with you, and Laura and I are thrilled to be back at Doane, working at Doane, trying to help Doane become the institution that everyone wants to be like. And at Doane, we build leaders, and we've been doing it better and longer than any other school in Nebraska, and that is continuing going forward. As I said, we're building the institution everyone wants to be like, and I'm not interested in being number 3, and I'm not interested in being number 2. I'm interested in being the best. And what we see tonight is excellence. The best of the best here tonight being represented. I want to congratulate all the inductees to the Athletic Hall of Fame class of 2025. I also want to congratulate the families and the friends of those who attend for this induction. As you all know, no one is successful by themselves. Everybody has a team. And in fact, I believe the greatest gift that we give our students is the ability to build teams, work within teams, handle a bad teammate, but keep the organization moving, and eventually lead teams. I think that skill set will carry them forward and take care of the students once they graduate from Doane. It's the greatest skill set we have, and again, we've been doing it better than anyone in Nebraska for a long time. Tonight, as I said earlier, is about excellence and how do we achieve it. I would be remiss not to mention some of our current coaches who have done just that this year. First of all, we heard that Ed's team beat Wesleyan, both men's and women's. For the first time in Doane's history, our women's tennis team is nationally ranked. There's a first quiver right there. Ed would not let us announce that until they beat Wesleyan because they didn't want to jinx it. Our director of wrestling, Dana Vogt, both men's and women's wrestling won the GPAC conference titles, and Dana was selected Coach of the Year again this year. Our women team, who have only been essentially in existence for 3 years, qualified a person in all 12 of the weight classes going to the national tournament, and they finished 9th in the nation. And we had a national champion, Cristel Rodriguez, also was the national champ in her area, and we're hoping for her to make the Olympics as she goes forward with her training. The men also did well at the national meet. They finished 4th in the national meet. The women finished 9th, as I said, and we had a national runner-up with the men's wrestling team. Our men's and women's indoor track team did very well. I'm sorry Ed's not here to hear me make my comments, but for a long time, both men and women won the GPAC conference, and man, did our ladies get up and compete. Ed was selected Coach of the Year for both men's and women's indoor teams. Our women went on to finish 2nd in the nation, national runners-up. We had 2 national champions, while the men finished 3rd and had 1 national championship. Excuse me. But I also need to share something that Ed shared with me when he got back from the national meet. He told me that numerous coaches had approached him and asked how he was able to create the culture that he has on his team and what we have here at Doane. Ed told me that every time a Doane athlete was racing or vaulting or jumping or running, everyone in that stadium knew they were doing it. I'm sorry, everyone in the event area knew they were doing it because of the support the other athletes and the coaches gave them. When our long jumper was going down the long jump pit, they line up along the pit and start to clap. And everybody understands that Ed has done a great job of taking a very individualized sport and making it a team. And others around the place, others around all schools around the country were coming up to him and saying, how have you created that? What did you do to do that? And for me, that sounds like we're becoming the institution everyone else wants to be like. And that's what we're going to do. Inductees, tonight's your night. Tonight's about achieving excellence, as I said, but more importantly, I would argue this group of inductees has had the dedication, the commitment, and the willingness to make the sacrifices it takes to achieve excellence. Everyone talks about being great, but very few are willing to pay the price that it takes. At the end of the day, it takes what it takes. There are no shortcuts. Each inductee's bios are in the program, so I'm not going to read them to you, but I am going to pick out a couple highlights. This year's group includes basketball players, both men and women. Joe and Jessica, the basketball players, scored over 1,400 points during their career here. And remember, they didn't have the three-point shot then. 1,400 points in their career. Paul Vince represents our men's track team tonight. He won national championships by being the fastest man, the fastest athlete of his time. While Megan represents our women's track team by using a pole to soar above all others, setting records in both the indoor and outdoor pole vault. Some of those records still stand today. And I feel a special kinship with Megan because she's from western Nebraska. See, Nebraska doesn't stop at North Platte. Okay, there's a whole other part of the state out there. She's from Gering, I was from Crawford, that's only 75 miles away. Western Nebraska got to stick together. Thank you very much, yes. Baggy is a wrestler, he represents the men's wrestling team, finished with a career 116-3 record. That is a 94% winning percentage, and he had 3 national titles. And while his record is stellar, I mean, it's unbelievable, 116-3. I remember him most when I was down watching the national meet, the national match in Wichita. And in the semifinals, he suffered a defeat in the last 10 seconds. And I would say it was questionable that the officials allowed his opponent to hang out right by the line, so every time the opponent got in trouble, he just went out of bounds and they brought it back in. So I didn't say that because officials never make mistakes, right, Baggy? But that this guy was not on my Christmas card list, let's put it like that. How Baggy handled himself was amazing. He walked off with his head held high. You could see the disappointment. You could see he was upset. But he had another match to wrestle. Because to get third place, you have to come back and wrestle again. Baggy collected himself, walked on the mat, and pinned his opponent in the first period. That's what athletics teach. That you're going to get knocked down. It's evidence. But that you get back up, and you get back up, and you get back up. Lost my place there. Our final inductee is Dennis McElravy, and he's getting the Meritorious Service Award. Being a manager is a thankless job, but yet so crucial to the success of the team. As I said earlier, no one achieves success without being a team and being helped by others. A manager makes sure that everything is right, has his hand on the pulse of the team, so that the athletes and coaches can do and focus what it needs to win. And the only time you get noticed is when something goes wrong. And that's the only time people notice you. Well, tonight, Denny, we're going to recognize you for all the things you did right. Thank you for the 61 years of service. These inductees were mentored by some great coaches. Bob Erickson, Fred Biley, Gene Steinmeier, Dana Vogt. Coaches make a special impact in the lives of athletes. Their parent, their mentor, their motivator, they pick them up and give them a hug to keep them going, and they kick them in the seat of the pants when they need to get going. I talked about Doane creating leaders, but I also think Doane attracts great leaders. These aforementioned coaches that I talked about exposed the character of these individuals tonight. And some might say the reason they were able to do that because those coaches were a bunch of characters themselves. For example, I remember Fred Biley gathering his team after a meet where they had lost, I believe it was Wesleyan. And Fred said, "Don't worry about this. It's not your fault, it's my fault. I should have recruited better athletes." Now, how can't that motivate you, right? Or Bob Erickson, who was then mentoring a future Hall of Fame coach in Joe Glenn during his first head coaching cycle here at Doane. We were down at William Jewell, and the officials blew a call. They brought a winning touchdown back, is what happened. And Joe was a little hot, and so he let the official know that, and the official flagged him. And Joe got mad, and he kicked the flag, which got him another 15-yard penalty. And of course, being a first-year coach, he was always so worried. Bob's the AD. He's my boss. What's he going to say? I lost my cool. So after the game was over, the next day, Bob was in his office, and Joe goes in to kind of explain what's going on. And Bob said, "Well, tell me what happened." So Joe told Bob what happened. Bob said, "Let me give you a piece of advice. The next time that happens, what you need to do is wait for that official to put the flag back in his pocket before you kick him." That's a true story. Doane can't become the institution everyone wants to be like without a strong and activated and engaged alumni. It's time to come home. Great things are happening here. Your engagement is crucial to continuing and increasing our momentum as we go along. Get back here for homecoming on October 4th. You'll love the energy. You're going to love how our team's performing. You're going to love how our volleyball team's performing in addition to that. Get back here and be part of it. Become one of the mentors for our students. Recommend a student to come to Doane, because if you get a student to come to Doane, that's like a major gift to the university. Congratulations to all the inductees tonight. It's a great night for you and a great night for Doane. Merrill will ring. Go Tigers.
One thing I wanted to say for sure is that I mentioned Fred's 18 years at Doane. Wonderful. We're back, and we're still there. And Roger is doing a great job, and we are so fortunate to have him in a position to lead our university right now. Things are going great at Doane. This is the best place to be. I just turned 65. Roger and I were classmates at Doane. I just turned 65 last month. I know I don't look a day past 45. But I'm often asked, when I got into the Hall of Fame 2 years ago, I had 100 questions. When are you going to retire? I heard you're retiring. Why would I do something that stupid? I'm not going to do that. And so it's just great to be here, and it's great to work at this university, having gone here as a student and then working at this university. It's just fantastic. So anyway, okay. Joe, are you there? You hang tight. You're going to listen to us, okay? So you'll hear us talking about you. Okay, just hang tight. That's Joe Wharton, and he's going to listen to his presentation in a few moments. And so he's going to be with us by phone, and he'll be back here in a year, and we're going to induct him again into our Athletic Hall of Fame. And so, Joe, I assume you can hear me? That's awesome, Joe. And we can hear you too. And we are so delighted to have you on the line. And we're going to get started in just a minute. I know that there are people who are coming to assist. I know Rick is bringing his camera, and so I want to maybe stall for just a couple of moments. And while I'm doing that, I just want to thank all of you for being here tonight. And I wanted to thank Shaq in person, Chef Shaq. I don't know if he's around the corner, Ian, or but he does such a good job, and usually when you want to thank him, they take off through the back doors. So anyway, hopefully he'll step back in. We're in the second year here of Fresh Ideas as our food service provider, and they're doing a great job for us. I can fill a little bit of time here. You guys come on in. This is going to work great. Doane Wrestling is fantastic, both teams. And so these folks are here to support Boggy, who will be inducted in a few moments. But I just want to tell you a little bit about this team. Dana, I may be stealing a little of your thunder, but it's okay to repeat. What a year for Doane University Wrestling. Men's wrestling, GPAC tournament champions, GPAC duals champions, 4th in the nation, NAIA. Pretty darn good. Women's wrestling, 3rd year. Christelle, wave at us. National champion, 2 years in a row. Doane Wrestling, Doane Women's Wrestling, GPAC champions. They won it over in the Haddock Center. This is a great program. I'm going to talk to you more about our coaches a little bit later. Shaq, thank you. Victoria, thank you. Chef Shaq has been at Doane since we brought in Fresh Ideas. Victoria's in her 1st year as managing this very successful operation. So thank you. The food was great. And I had told a lot of people today that we were going to have minced ham sandwiches and chips. And I think we did a little bit better than that. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'm going to go ahead and get started. Welcome once again to the 2025 Doane University Athletic Hall of Fame event. This is the induction ceremony where our inductees are officially inducted into our university's Athletic Hall of Fame. And speaking of our Athletic Hall of Fame, another member just walked in. Ed, welcome. Ed, that had to be the fastest trip ever from Kearney to Crete. A couple of things I want to get back to Ed here in a second. So others will share with you some thoughts about each inductee, things not necessarily listed in the program. Ed, I heard that one of the reasons you were a little delayed is that our high jumper was attempting 7 feet, 7'2". I'll tell you what, yeah. Track and field, women and men, GPAC indoor champions, both. We had great weekends at Doane, that's for sure. Here are the ground rules for the induction ceremony. I will introduce each presenter who will come forward and share his or her thoughts about each inductee. Then the presenter will speak and then ask the inductee to come forward to receive the plaque. And a quick picture will be taken of the presenter and the inductee. Then the presenter will exit and each inductee will share his or her remarks. And the inductees, you're welcome to introduce your immediate family members. We'll follow the same format for each individual inductee, and I can assist with that as well, and I'll hand you the plaques, etc. And Joe, I still have you on board, right? Okay, great to hear from you again. Joe sent me an email today. I want to share this with you. Joe wrote, Cody, with great sadness, I won't be able to attend the ceremony tonight. As you know, I have been battling health issues for the past 2 months, And this afternoon of all days, I am having an outpatient surgery, which my cardiologist says cannot wait. I tried to pull it off. I am disappointed but not angry because God is in control of my faith, and He'll get me through all of this. I thank Coach Erickson, you, and others for selecting me to the Doane Athletic Hall of Fame. I only wish I could be there in person. To all my teammates, friends, fraternity brothers, professors, and other staff, I say thank you for all the wonderful time while at Doane University. Sincerely, Jumping Joe, 76, family for life. That's Joe Wharton. It is my pleasure to introduce Marta Erickson Papik, class of 1976, Joe's class at Doane. I asked Joe about his presenter, and we both agreed that Coach Erickson would relish the opportunity. He then asked, "What about Marta?" I replied, "I'll ask her. Marta, please come forward."
Well, Joe, I'm sorry that you're not here, but I have some words for you anyway. I'm honored to be introducing Joe Wharton to be inducted in the Doane Hall of Fame, but the person who should be introducing him is Coach Erickson. Sadly, that can't happen. I'm thankful that God has blessed me with the opportunity to represent my dad. Cody mentioned that before Dad died, he shared that Joe deserved to be in the Hall of Fame. I know that he, my dad, would be so proud of you, Joe. You're qualified to be a Hall of Famer, both for your accomplishments as an athlete at Doane and as a coach since leaving Doane. I read on your bio that you tried out insurance. It's interesting that you tried that but returned to coaching because you missed it. The same thing happened to my dad. Coach Erickson had the same experience. When I was in 6th grade, Dad decided he was through coaching. We were moving to Kearney and he's going to sell insurance. Well, it came to the last minute. We'd sold our house to some people. He'd send his resignation, but he couldn't do it. We backed out, we got our house back, and we stayed at Doane. One of Joe's teammates, Mark Kinney, wrote a note to Cody and included this story. I wanted to share it. I want to share a story with you that I know Joe won't remember. We were playing Hastings College in the 3rd game of the best of 3 series to see who would go to the NAIA Nationals in Kansas City in 1976. We were playing at Hastings and the game was back and forth with the score. Then, with about 10 minutes left in the second half and down by a couple points, there was an offensive rebound that the Bigs were fighting for. Out of nowhere, Joe comes flying in, out jumps everyone, and with a look on his face that scared the bejeebers out of me, grabs the rebound and scores. That was the turning point of the game, when we ran away to a 19-point win and a trip to nationals. Joe was a great teammate and always kept the team focused in reaching our true potential, resulting in a memorable season. Ken Hamilton, a Doane grad, wrote a newspaper article about that same game. I'm quoting from the article. After the win, Coach Erickson had some comments. "We're a very emotional team, and we did a lot of talking about being calm," said Doane coach Bob Erickson, "and we shot the eyes out of the basket." Well, I kind of had a hard time believing that he was talking about being calm, but anyway. "This wasn't one of those games where somebody wanted to win more than the other," Erickson continued. Both teams wanted this one, and both played very hard. "We had to overcome a lot of things to do this," said Erickson, "but the big difference was the way we reacted to the technical foul that night." Well, when I read that, my first thought is, yep, Dad got technical. Imagine that. That's not out of the ordinary. But then I read on. In Tuesday's game, Wharton was called for a technical foul. Late in the first half of the Broncos' closed to within 42-40 margin after trailing by 5. I think the technical foul helped us play together, said Wharton, because it got us together for the second half. The Broncos finished their season 20-8, while the Tigers, with an identical record, will travel to Kansas City for the national tournament. So Joe got the technical. I bet Dad was proud. When the Tigers got to KC for that NAIA tournament, Doane upset 12th-seeded Norfolk State. It was the first NAIA tourney win for Doane since 1945. Yep, the Tigers beat Norfolk State, just like Florida did last week in the NC2A tournament. Joe, when I watched you play basketball, it reminded me of the Bible verse, Psalm 18:29. I can run through a troop, and by my God, I can leap over a wall. You were so fun to watch. My brother Scott's favorite player, Jumpin' Joe. Thanks for the wonderful memories.
Joe, how'd we do? That's great. And you had a good day today. God bless you, and let's do this again next year, okay? Joe, I'm going to let you go, and we love you, we're proud of you, and we'll see you when you get to feeling a little bit better, okay? Yeah, we'll see you, Joe. Yeah, thank you. Last thing he said was, "Go Tigers." He'll be back. Pretty sure of that. I forgot to announce when I was talking about women's wrestling, 9th place finish in nationals, highest finish ever in our 3rd season. Not too bad, guys. Great job. I forgot to mention that. And we're really proud of both men's and women's wrestling. And that'll be exemplified when we induct Boggy in just a few moments. Former Doane head women's basketball coach Gene Steinmeier, my good friend seated right down here, a 2009 Doane Athletic Hall of Fame inductee, highly recommended Jessica for induction. So it makes sense that Steiny is here tonight to share his thoughts about his great player, Jessica Wilson. Stein, come on up.
You know, the thing that irritates me the most is I look at Jess and I look at Tracy Ulrich here, and they haven't gained a pound. It irritates me to death. Some of us are just blown up, and I'm a little upset about that. Before I get going on Jess, I want to say just 2 things. Liv Nall is in the crowd here, and she played women's basketball. She's had a blown knee the last 2 years. Never missed a practice, never missed a game. The most dedicated kid I've ever known. And Liv, you'll be rewarded for that someday. So great job, Liv. Stand up, Liv. Yeah, stand up. Come on, I'm still your coach for a second or two here. Atta girl. Just to show you how old I am, first of all, let's get back to Bob Erickson. Bob Erickson, they won the first game since 1945. Gene Ells, my uncle, was on that 45 team. He was part of that Navy program. And then, because my uncle was not a great coach, he gave it up so Bob Erickson could take over. So that was kind of ironic that listening to that. So that was good. I want to acknowledge Ryan Bumgardner, my boss for the last 5 years. He's really been good to me, and he's taken, you talk about these places that have been devastated by hurricanes and everything and build up from the ashes. Well, that's kind of what he had to do. Take a team that had lost a coach at Christmas and really build up a really good program. So anyway, now let's get back to the woman of the hour here. And that's, and forgive me for not saying married names and stuff, but Jessica Wilson. And just to show you how tough whenever you recruit a kid, you never ever know what it's going to take to get that kid. Like I was telling Jack over here, well, I think Jack's gone, but I said, my last kid I recruited this year, I got her Hertz Donuts. I think that'll lock her in, you know. Now, with Jess, it was different. She shows up on a day, it is absolutely pouring rain. And it is just miserable out. And she leaves here, and there's no way she's coming to Doane. No way. And if it hadn't have been for Gene Chupin, who was an admissions counselor at the time, suggesting we bring Jess back when the sun was shining, that locked her in. We got Jess. Now, I don't know if that was the reason, but I always remember Gene saying, if we get her back here during the sunshine, she'll come. So anyway, that's how we got Jess. Jess, I had to recruit like crazy to get Jess. She went on a trip to Mexico with some recruits before she came here. And I don't know how many games I saw her play, but I saw her Wahoo team play a lot of basketball games. So when she got here, we had 3 Final Four teams, and Jess was part of 2 of them. And some things that go unnoticed with those Final Four teams, the first one, we got beat on the last second shot. We were down 15 points with 9 minutes to go, and only 2 people scored the rest of the way. And that we had an All-American point guard by the name of Amari Moskey, and the other one was Jessica Wilson. Now, Tracy pointed this out to me. Trace, if you'd stand up a second, would you please? But Trace played for me, and she coached here for 20 years. Trace pointed something out that I hadn't thought of, but she's absolutely right. Jessica Wilson scored over 1,400 points here, and not only during free throws was the only time she ever saw the basket when she shot. And what I mean by that is she had this fadeaway jumper. And there's no way, I mean, by the time she was finished shooting, she was almost on the ground. But yet she was able to score 1,400 points. I had an assistant once that was going to correct her, was going to straighten out her fadeaway. Well, I grabbed that assistant in a hurry. She wasn't with us very long. That's the truth, too. Jess is, and I shouldn't mention this, but I have to. Jess's mother was a trip. Lynn is over here, and I had very few parents like Lynn. Lynn was the art teacher at Wahoo. She painted this great mural, and I bet not many of you will even recognize this, but it was of Wahoo Sam Crawford. And that's a famous Major League Baseball player, actually named one of the top 100 greatest players. And she painted him, and of course, but with the name Wahoo Sam Crawford, you got to know where Sam was from. Well, so she had she was real artsy. And first of all, she was absolutely afraid that her daughter was not going to get to play basketball for Doane. And so she sent me letters. This is back in the letter writing days. I'd have gotten a text now. But in the letter writing days, I'd get letters that stated why she ought to be playing more. Well, I thought she was playing quite a bit, tell you the truth. So anyway, the one thing, and I was going to say something too that then it hit me that most people won't. I didn't feel like Jess got the respect she needed. I mean, there was always somebody better or people conceived as better, and she never really got the recognition she deserved. And I had a list here. These are basketball players that played in this era that are in the Hall of Fame, and that's Mary Kay Bell, Tricia Plucker, Mary Niedenkamp, Betty Niedenkamp, Trudy Verhusen, Aaron Schlake. But none of those have what Jess is going to get tonight. None of them are in the Hall of Fame. And Jess was Player of the Year, and none of them was ever Player of the Year. So I was going to tell this joke about no respect, but nobody would remember who Rodney Dangerfield was. I had a great joke, but then Jody over here, who's with me, told me that don't tell that joke. It probably wasn't appropriate. She was right. Tracy had a nickname. I didn't know this till but Jess's nickname was Spidey, I guess. And is that, huh? Roach. Oh, that's right, Roach. I like Spidey better. I don't know. Thanks, Trace. I have two basketball stories to tell about Jess, and one of them, I told her kids. Her three kids are here tonight. All of them going to Morningside, by the way. I still love you guys. I do. But anyway, Jess, we were playing Dana. And according to Fred Biley, if you got beat by Dana, you were probably going to get fired. That was Fred Biley. He said that. Esther, he did say that. He threatened me, Esther. He threatened me. So anyway, we're playing Dana. It's a close game. We're up 6 points with 2 minutes to go, and we would automatically go into a delay game at 2 minutes. No timeout, no anything. Every player on the floor would go in delay game. I just had to call the play we wanted to run. Well, I wanted to run this play where we would, Jess would get a screen, and then we'd screen for her, and she'd come around about 6 feet from the basket and shoot her fadeaway jump shot. Ran it to perfection. We're up 8. Get the ball, come back down, we get a stop, come back down. Well, if it worked once, it's got to work twice. So we run the same exact play. They're a little bit smarter this time, and she comes and she's about 10 feet from the basket. This time, I mean, she's almost flat on her back, nothing but net. She scores, we're up 10. We go down, get the ball back, come back down. Why not? We'll run delay. Well, even though we're going to win the game now, we'll run it one more time. So we ran the same exact play. This time, Jess does fall on her back at the free throw line, nothing but net. And the other coach is screaming and hollering and calling timeout, and I've never seen anybody pull her hair out like that, like Kathy Foley from Dana did. That was a great, you had to see it to appreciate it. I know you're sitting here going, what's he talking about? But it was a great sequence. The other one, and it was probably, I know for me personally, it was the greatest upset a team of mine ever had. And that was we're in the Elite 8 of the national tournament, and we're playing Briarcliff. And Briarcliff had beaten us by 28 points in January, and they were 37-0. And they were number 1 in the nation, and we play them. And so my powers, the Briarcliff coach told me this story. They said, look, the Wilson kid, she's going to get the ball. She's going to turn off her, what is it, right or left shoulder, and she's going to, yeah, her left shoulder, and going to turn and fall away. And you got to get right in her face. So, okay, they're going to just kick us again. Jess gets the ball the very first play, turns off her left shoulder, fades away. Nobody gets in her face. She scores. She's our leading scorer in that game, and we ended up ending their undefeated streak. And that was after our first Final Four when we graduated a bunch of people. So those are the two stories that kind of emphasize what Jess meant to us. At the end of that year, nobody expected us to do much. We won the conference, made the Final Four, and Jess was named Player of the Year. And I think, I wasn't surprised, but I think Jess was surprised, and I think a lot of people were. Jess came to Doane, and her mom hoped she would get a little playing time. Then she went to become a really reliable scorer and player on her team. Oh, and last thing, by the way, Jess was a great rebounder. And Tracy one time came off the screen and was supposed to shoot it. And instead she passed it to Jess, who had turned to rebound and hit her in the back of the head, I might add. I had to get that one in. I forgot that one. But she came in, mom hoping she'd play, became a reliable scorer. Then she became an all-conference player. Then she became an All-American. And now she's in the Hall of Fame.
Dennis is going to get a picture with you and Jess. Jess can hold that. You guys can get a picture.
Hi. I had to write some notes because my children and my brother are here and I don't want them to heckle me and throw me off. So I am so honored to be recognized and inducted alongside such wonderful individuals to the Doane Athletics Hall of Fame. Thank you, Cody and Doane College, for considering my career a noteworthy. The experience was such a significant part of my life. It's validating to know that it was special to others as well. When I look over my summary of career stats that Cody sent me, it was honestly informative because statistics is not something I really ever committed to memory. When I'm thinking about and talking about my time playing basketball at Doane College, it really was the experience in the context of team. I just loved my girls, loved playing with them. The group of young women that I had the pleasure to compete with during my 4 years at Doane were amazing, and that was everything about my experience. I remember fondly Erin DeMuth grabbing my practice jersey and moving me from spot to spot as a freshman because I didn't know the plays. She was very helpful. Come to think of it, Nikki Plank and Carrie Thompson also regularly going over plays with me at pregame meals using salt and pepper shakers in the cafeteria. But what stood out to me about that whole situation was that they were so patient and kind and able to use humor to diffuse any tension in the locker room or anything. I learned a lot about myself through my teammates and just aspired to be what they were demonstrating. So I have just a couple of thoughts that I feel I wanted to share to respect them. I remember being at first a little scared of, but mostly in awe of Gina Barrett and Mari Moski. Amazing examples of physical discipline and putting in that extra to be the best players they could be on game day. I felt the charisma, fun, and competitiveness just oozing off of Tracy Ulrich and Gina Milton, and that gave me confidence just being around them. I recognized and admired their amazing leadership skills on and off of the court. Pam Sorensen, just spammy. If you know her, she's one of the absolute best, and you know why. And even the excellent study habits of Barb, Mari, Laurel made an impression and showed me the discipline and focus required of a student athlete being on the road frequently during the season. I remember playing pitch for hours on road trip, the excitement of stopping at the gas station for snacks, the blizzard driving home from Montana, Denny Nelson careening down the mountain in our trusty 15-passenger van, zero visibility, death very likely. Learning together in the film room that our team was rated #1 in the nation, and just exploding out into the field house, pure energy and adrenaline, and man, those national runs, like it was amazing. And how awesome as a college student to travel and compete in Hawaii, in the Bahamas, doing walkthroughs by the ocean, watching the cruise ships come in, having so many adventures on those trips off the court. I won't go into those details because my children are here, but no regrets missing curfew when my roommate Sarah Lubeck made the finals in a dance contest and you had to be present to win in the Bahamas. You were waiting in the lobby, but she won, so you said that's fine. And there were so many memories of the good times, heartbreak, laughter, tears, frustration, injury, all the stuff that comes with sports and life. I loved all of it. I want to thank my amazing parents, Mark and Lynn. Stein gives my mom a hard time, but she has a soft heart for her eldest daughter. And I appreciated their support so much. I didn't adequately express it at the time, but your support had such a positive impact on my heart during my college playing days. Just being able to look up on a Thursday night at Hastings College, knowing that you guys were there really pushed me to be my best because I wanted to make you proud. And now as an adult thinking more rationally about the logistics, I'm very impressed that you got off work and drove 2 hours to Hastings and had to drive back late and get up. I appreciate you so much. Thank you. And lastly, Steinmeier, thank you so much for pursuing me to be part of Doane basketball, for putting so much time and energy into getting the absolute best out of each individual player on your team, and maybe most significantly, being very deliberate and effective to curate an amazing basketball experience for everyone involved in your program. You're an outstanding coach and an even better person, and yes, a character as well. I'm so honored and grateful to have been a small part of the proud tradition of Doane women's basketball. Thank you very much. Go Tigers.
Thank you, Jess. current head track and field coach Ed Fye, class of '82, was inducted into our Athletic Hall of Fame in 2000. He was recently named GPAC Indoor Track and Field Coach of the Year for our men's and women's teams who won conference. He had a tremendous impact on our next two inductees, Paul Vince and Megan, beginning with Paul Vince. Ed?
I rushed back from our track meet. We had a good meet going. When it's 8.3 mile an hour wind, you can do some really great things, Paul. Your record about went down, just so you know. The other good thing about not going to be here and ended up making it was my wife did a great job of writing my speeches for me, so I won't stray like Steinmeier did just a little bit ago. So I'll stay on task. I met Paul in the parking lot at Doane. He was a very distinct memory because right after that, we went to the Saline County Fair parade, and we jokingly told Paul that that celebration was for him. There was still a couple weeks before classes started, so I decided Paul could live with us until we could find a place for him to live. This was the worst mistake of my life. I learned a lot about Paul Vince the first week he was living with me. He was making me look bad, and my wife was wanting to get rid of me to keep Paul. His second day he was there, Sunday, I was watching TV in my recliner and watching and taking a quick nap. Out my window, I see someone on my mower, on my grass, and yes, it was Paul Vince. And then he cleaned the garage with my equipment. As if that wasn't enough, making me look bad, that even Paul Vince complimented my wife on her tater tot casserole and helped her clean up the kitchen. 2 days of having Paul around, and I think my wife's exact words were, "You need to pick the pace up." Very quickly, I realized that this man was raised differently. Paul would never take a handout, and he would receive it. When he received his scholarship, he told me, "Coach, I will never let you or the team down." He appreciated the opportunity that we gave him. Paul has earned everything he has accomplished through hard work and his amazing ability to build genuine relationships. He came to Doane to get a business degree, but after 1 year, Paul knew he wanted to give back. He changed his major to education and was determined to positively change people's lives. While being a full-time student, he ran track and also worked as many hours as possible. Again, he was determined to make enough money to give back to his grandma and mother in Kenya. In a very short time, Paul had earned enough money and built his grandma and his mom a home. This is just one example of Paul giving back and taking care of those that mean the most to him. On the track, Paul did everything he could to be a great teammate and captain. There wasn't a day at practice that went by where Paul did not show up with a smile, positive attitude, and a cup of coffee in his hand. On a normal day, you could hear Paul long before you could see him. Everyone believed in Paul because they knew he would never let them down, just like his family in Kenya. He never forgot them, and he never let them down. You can read about Paul's accomplishments and honors he has received in the program. Just to name a few, he was a multiple-time All-American, 2-time national champion, and led our team as a team captain to many GPAC championships and a national runner-up trophy. Paul has become a great friend to my family and my brother Marty's family as well. I was honored to be his best man at his wedding. Over the years, Paul, his wife, Michaela, and their 2 children, Ben and Karen, have been a large part of our lives. Before I present this award to you, Paul, I have one more favor to ask. You went with me when I had to take my firstborn Zach to preschool because Lisa was crying disastrously. And I'm going to need you again, friend, this time to take my youngest to college. It is my honor to present to you the Hall of Fame.
We'll get a picture of you guys.
We'll get a picture for you guys with the flag.
What a great evening. Thanks, everybody. First of all, I want to thank my wife, Michaela, who is here, always by my side. Benjamin, you might be fast on skates now that we live in hockey country, but I still challenge you to a 60-meter dash. I used to be fast. Karen, you might do cartwheels all night and all day because of gymnastics. Keeping you. Here present too is my sister, Purity, always supporting me, and glad to have you here. Jose, thanks for being the best brother-in-law I can ever ask for. Appreciate that. Now, Doane means a lot. Sorry. I came to Doane at my weakest point. I just moved here from Kenya. Yes, Danny, I'm the fastest Kenyan you know now, not Nigerian. I just moved here from, I was going to school in Virginia, Virginia Military Institute. At that point, I had switched schools. June, I was off to Clemson. By chance, we had a coach who happened to know somebody who was at FSU. The person was their sprints coach. The year before that, I happened to be All-American, NCAA, and Clemson and FSU are the same conference. So I got a call, like, you can't go, you have to sit out a year. I was like, hey, I came to this country to get education. So what was my next move? Coach Bosman reached out to Railsback, who happened to be at the University of Nebraska. His son was supposed to go to VMI, but couldn't make it because he had some medical issues, and said, hey, I got a good place for this young man. And this good place is Doane. And I was like, where is that? Nebraska. The only thing I knew about Nebraska is a lot of cows, cornfields, nothing else. So I rent a car, never driven cross country. To you young boys and girls, we had MapQuest that you had to print. No GPS. I left Virginia that evening around noon. I thought I was just going to drive, and by 7 o'clock, I'd be in Crete, Nebraska. I kept driving. So I call, I'm like, hey, I'm not there yet. Coach Bosman told me, keep driving. When you see a lot of corn, you are in Nebraska. I saw a lot of corn. I was in Illinois. So I was like, ah. So I had to spend a night somewhere along the way. I don't remember where. Got up the following day in the morning, drove. Got to Crete, Nebraska at 3 o'clock Saturday afternoon. And Coach Fai met me at the parking lot. That's a true statement. I go to Marty's house. Marty and his brothers are there. And 30 minutes later, hey, welcome to Doane. We have a special event for our Doane athletes. I was like, all right, I've arrived, here we go. So they take me downtown Crete, say, this parade is for you. Welcome to Doane. I later realized that it's fair parade. So when I got this call again from Ed about being inducted Hall of Fame, I thought it was another prank. So with those remarks, I'm just grateful. I really am grateful. Like I said, Doane has done a lot for me. And I want to say, Ed, thank you. You are more than a coach, a mentor, father figure, and a good friend. And who would talk about Don't Track without Coach Biley? So the first day, all new students down, freshmen, transfers, were called for a meeting, the first day of practice. And we met in this small classroom in Field House and with Coach Biley. And the first thing he said, if you're good enough, you wouldn't be sitting here today. I looked around, I saw some tears, but I knew he was making sure that everything that he was going to teach you henceforth was going to build you up. You knew he was mad at you, or you did do something right when you're used to running 100-meter dash, or 200, or 60 when you find yourself on a mile relay team. So that was a good sign. That was a good sign. So with that being said, I was never a natural athlete. I did not formally practice track. Running was a way of life for me. I would run from school, back home at noon, get the cows fed, and run back to school. Because my school was 5 miles away. So run home, put cows in the pasture, give them water, run back to school. So that was a way of life. I did not think about track as a way out, so to speak. Formally, I did not run track until high school when I was a junior. And I want to recognize my high school principal who saw that talent in me. Growing up, sports was not a big deal in my family. Chores were a big deal. And making sure that you did it right was a big deal. So when my coaches at high school saw this talent in me, they would sneak me out of school and take me to meets. And when my mother found out, she was livid. I sent him here to go to school and go to class, not to go and run. And throughout my running career, she never watched me run. She did not understand the value of athletic. She later did understand that when athletic paid my way through college. She later didn't understand that when athletic got me to where I am today. I don't blame her because she didn't have good examples. It's not a big deal where I grew up. Going to school, getting good grades, becoming doctors and lawyers is more important than stressed. So I learned about rivalry. Exactly when I came here, a week before conference, coach was extremely mad. I was like, dude, what's going on, Eddie? I later found out that he had met with the coach at Westland in Lincoln and had some words with him. The coach realized all throughout I have been running, doing great. But the coach had done some math at Westland that without me lining up or suiting up, they had a chance to win the conference that year. So the coach waited, I believe, until a few days before conference to question my eligibility because he knew that it would take at least a week to get that resolved. So I would be out of conference meet, so they had a chance to win that. I learned to appreciate my teammates. They stepped up, and I don't think I ever lost to Westland when I was at Doane. So what did I learn at Doane? I learned that it was a family, dedication. Yes, individually you run, but you know that your teammates will be there to support you. I knew that when I got to the blocks, I knew I had my teammates on the sides. We did our events, but we stuck around for other people. It was pole vault. We made sure that we were present, loud, proud, and making sure that our teammates were getting support that they needed. And that echoes what Dr. Hughes just talked about earlier today. It's been there, it was built, and it will remain. We are a team. Finally, I would just like to say once again to Doane Selection Committee, I don't think I deserve this. They are great people who have come through this place, but thank you for the award, thank you for the induction, and the Phi family, thank you from my heart. Thank you.
I might cry more than Roger, but I'm not sure. All right. There's one thing, the next person is Megan Bauer, and one thing that has happened, we have a young lady on our team this year, Kaylee Pribble, and she just broke Megan's record indoors and became a national champion, and she's tied her outdoor record, and she was going for the record today. She didn't get it, so you're still on the board, Megan. But one thing about those two, if I ever go recruit a pole vaulter, if they say something to me, I'm not going to recruit them because these are the two quietest humans I've ever had in my life. That's all they do. All right, Megan Bauer comes from an amazing family who loved watching, coaching, and supporting her throughout her athletic career. Her dad, Bill, was a driving force in developing Megan into the pole vaulter that she was. He even built her a pole vault runway and a pit in the backyard. Our staff did a track and field camp in Baird, and during the pole vault session, I saw this skinny blonde girl standing over by the pole vault pit. I was not impressed until she got that magic wand in her hand called a pole vaulting pole. This petite, quiet girl did not need to say a word or for anyone to notice that she was special. She could fly through the air on the pole like no girl I'd ever seen. It was not long, and Megan's hard work was paying off. She was breaking records left and right and quickly identified as one of the best pole vaulters in the nation. As time progressed, the coach built a great relationship with her family as well. Megan never said much, so I really relied on her family to tell me how she felt about Doane. It was a great day that day when I found out from Bill she was coming to Doane. Megan was a skilled vaulter. Megan was a skilled vaulter way before her time, and she was the perfect athlete to coach. She was always committed to her goals and also to her teammates. Even though she was quiet, her fierce competitive nature came out during competition. Megan embraced opportunity to compete against vaulters of all levels. She was way ahead of her time. Like I said, she vaulted against D1, D2, it didn't matter what. In her senior year, she was competing against a young lady named Jen Schuer, and she beat Jen head to head. Jen only went on to win a gold medal in the Olympics. At most track meets, the other vaulters were out of the competition before Megan even started warming up. Because of this, Megan was identified as a pretty special vaulter. I would like to thank Megan for making me look good like I knew what I was doing as a great pole vault coach. When Megan would get off the pit, coaches would come around me and listen to my conversations. One day I asked him, "What are you guys doing coming around listening to me? I want to see what you're telling her to go so high." And I didn't want to tell him that my philosophy was I learned from Fred Biley. If you have to coach him, don't recruit him. It is my great pleasure to have you in the Athletic Hall of Fame, Megan. I can't wait to hear her talk.
What an honor it is to be here tonight. When I found out that I was going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame, I started thinking back to how it all started. I remember being a clueless seventh grader, trying to learn all I could about pole vaulting. This was back in the day when the computers had really slow internet that went over the telephone lines. So my dad took me to his office where he had fast internet, and we researched the pole vaults, and we found some really basic sites about some really basic parts of it. But that's where I really started researching the sport. In the quest to learn more and more about the pole vault, I signed up for every track camp that I could in high school, including the Doane track camp, and that is where I fell in love with the Doane track team. When it came time to decide where I was going to go to college, there was no doubt in my mind where I would go. Much to the disappointment of my future husband, I did not even consider going to Kearney, to UNK, where he was going. I was going to Doane. During college, pole vaulting was just about my favorite way to spend a couple of hours. I am so appreciative of Ed, who would drop anything and help me to vault. I remember spending many hours outside of normal track practice, working with him, trying to perfect my technique. Looking back, he was always going above and beyond to help me get just a little bit better. I also have to thank my mom and dad, who are always so supportive of my passion for pole vaulting. I remember heading off to college my freshman year, looking forward to a little freedom, a little distance from home. Imagine my surprise when my dad drove the 400 plus miles every single weekend to be at every single track meet. At first, I didn't really know what to think about that, but I soon grew to enjoy and cherish his constant presence and encouragement. I'm a little sad to say that I haven't pole vaulted for a few years. Instead, I decided to take some time off to raise the next generation of pole vaulters. My oldest is pole vaulting this year. He's a seventh grader. He is thoroughly enjoying it. And my 6-year-old son, he is so excited to pole vault with Grandpa in track club this summer. And I also have a 9-year-old and 11-year-old daughters who will probably spend some time with poles this summer as well. We're all anxiously awaiting the completion of a pretty amazing pole vault building that my dad is putting up just a few miles from our house. My dad celebrated his 70th birthday last fall, and he's still competing in pole vault competitions. So I have plenty of time. If he can still vault at 70, I have plenty of time to start vaulting again when my kids get a little older. So thank you again for choosing me to receive this honor. Pole vaulting has always been a big part of my life, and I am so thankful for the time I was able to spend at Doane College doing what I love. So thank you.
Ed, you'll remember this. I remember we were watching Megan pole vault at the national, I think the national outdoor one year. And the surface, it had rained. It was a slick surface. And we were watching that thinking, gosh, I don't know, I mean, Megan's really good, but it rained and the surface is slick. Didn't matter. She won the national championship. That's how good she is and was. Congratulations very much. Couple of other things just in between here. Rick, want to thank you for being here. Tim Jasnock is here. Jazz is back in the orange polo. Want to let you know that's a very special family as it regards the Doane Athletic Hall of Fame. His dad, Bud, an Athletic Hall of Fame member, and Mary Lou, his sister, also in our Athletic Hall of Fame. So Jazz, it's good to see you. I know that you were at a track meet today, and a lot of busy things going on today. The other thing, last thing I want to mention before I start talking about Doane Wrestling and Coach Vogt, is that I remember, Jess, one of your games that we played at Concordia, and I told Steiny this, that we trailed the whole game, and they were in control, and we just exploded. You went off, and I think we won by 10 or 15 points after being down by about the same, and you were unconscious. You couldn't miss if you'd have tried. So anyway, I remember that. That sticks in my mind and in my heart. Dana Vogt is Director of Wrestling and head men's wrestling coach at Doane. Since his arrival a few years ago with his leadership and vision, this program has taken off like a rocket ship. Within the past few weeks, Doane men's wrestling won 2 GPAC championships, duels and tournament, and placed 4th at the NAI National Championship Tournament in suburban Wichita. Dana was named GPAC Wrestling Coach of the Year again, kind of an annual thing. Doane women's wrestling finished 9th in the recent NAIA tournament, our first top 10 finish. This does not happen by accident. It happens because Coach Vogt, right down here, recruits great wrestlers to Doane University, including Boggy Boldma. I present to you a great wrestling coach, Dana Vogt.
I'm not a pro at this like Ed Fi, so we'll give it a shot. But I came here 6 years ago. I think today's my 5-year retirement party since Boggy retired me from live wrestling in practice. The guy never took it easy on me, that's for sure. But 6 years ago when I got here, I think there was 4 kids in the team. Recruiting Boggy, he saw the vision. He took a chance on us. The first year going to the national tournament, he was our only national qualifier. I say to all the coaches, it was the greatest national tournament I ever coached at. We went undefeated. He teched and pinned his way through the tournament. It was very stress-free. It was fun. It was great. He was OW of the tournament. But the things I'll say about him is he's a once-in-a-lifetime kid. I mean, the guy, not just his wrestling ability with a 116-3 record, 100 matches in a row he won. Division I, NAI, D2, all that. There's only 6 people in the history of wrestling that ever done that. He's won more matches in a row than guys like Dan Gable, who everyone here probably knows, but his character is what stood out the most. When he came here as a freshman, there was another kid from Mongolia that came that struggled a little more than him, and I'd always ask him, and he's like, Coach, I'm not his dad. I don't babysit him. But he also said, the one thing he said, Coach, my job here is to honor you. I will always respect you. I will always honor you. And that's one thing that's always stuck with me. But the guy is hands down one of the greatest people I've ever met. I think when he won nationals, Coach Franzen had a thing that said he's the salt of the earth, and I'll say that's as close as you can get to being correct. So, with that being said, Batterdine, Boggy Boldma, come on up here, buddy.
I try to not cry. It's harder than when I was lost at the in AI last year. It's really touchful moment. All right. Hello, everyone. Good evening. First and most, I want to thank God for His blessing, guiding me through this incredible journey, and giving me strength to overcome every challenge that has come my way. Standing before you tonight, I'm deeply honored and humbled to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. This moment is not just about my accomplishments, but about the people who stood beside me, believed in me, and shaped person I am today. When I first arrived at Doane University, the wrestling team was small, with just 4 members. But under the leadership of Coach Doane and his incredible staff, they built something special. Their vision, dedication, and unwavering belief in us transformed a small team into a nationally recognized program. Coach, your mentorship has been invaluable, and I'm sorry. I'm forever grateful for the lessons you instilled in me, not just the mat, not just on the mat, but in life. To the Doane administration, thank you for believing in our program. Your continued support and providing the foundation that allowed us to thrive. Your commitment made it possible for student athletes like me to pursue our dreams and represent Doane with the pride. I also want to express my deepest gratitude to the Bennett family. Living far from home is one of the biggest challenges for me. Being away from my family, my culture, and the place I grew up was not easy. But I was blessed to find a second home here. The Bennett family opened their doors to me and made me feel like one of their own. They reminded me that family isn't just about the blood. It's about the people who stand by you, who support you, and who make you feel at home, no matter where you are. Wrestling has been more than sport to me. It has been way of life. Relentless pursuit of discipline, resilience, and self-improvement. Becoming a 5-time All-American, winning a 3-time national title, earning outstanding wrestler twice, and achieving 100 match win streak were all incredible milestones. But None of it would have been possible without my coaches, without my teammates, and unwavering supporters who believed in me. To my coaches and my teammates, thank you for pushing me every single day. For the early mornings, the grueling practices, the battles on the mat, on the moments of triumph. We built something special together, and I will be forever grateful to have been part of this journey with you guys. As I stand here tonight, I'm filled with the gratitude. This Hall of Fame induction is not just about my recognition of achievements, but testament to the incredible people who have shaped my life. Thank you all for being part of this journey. I am forever grateful. Thank you.
Time for the Kleenexes. Now you know why some of us never leave this place, what it's special. Great job. Great job, Boggy. When I visited with Denny McAravey about his presenter, he in fact mentioned two names rather than one. He mentioned Matt Franzen, class of '94, former Doane football player, head coach, and athletic director here. Matt was a member of the 1993 football team that was inducted into our Athletic Hall of Fame in the fall of 2023. As a player, he was selected to the NAI All-America First Team following the 1993 season. So I'm going to have Matt come forward, and then after that, I'll introduce Coach Schwenk. Matt, come on up. Welcome back.
Thank you, Cody. All right. First off, to be asked to present Denny is a really neat honor. I'm really happy to do this, and to be able to do it alongside with my coach, Coach Schwenk, makes it, for me anyway, kind of extra special. I got some comments put together. I pared it down a little bit because I knew there were going to be two of us giving the induction for Denny, so I didn't want to go overboard. And a few of these things really hit me in the feels, and I was really worried about showing a little too much emotion. But after everything I've seen, Roger, you started it out well. Cody, Paul, Boggy, I'm not worried anymore. So here we go. I'm going to start and end with really the same idea, and that is when you look at Denny, Denny McAravey, he is really a living history of Doane College, Doane University, and especially Doane football. From 1964 through 2024, arguably 2025 even, he's been serving the university in a lot of different ways, and the football program specifically in a lot of different ways. He worked under 10 head football coaches through all these years at Doane, starting with Al Papik in the 1960s, Ray Best, Joe Glenn, Nathan Hinkle, Brian Neighbor, Fran Schwenk, Tommy Frazier, Matt Franzen, Chris Bessler, Jonathan Johnson. 10 coaches. I need to start with a personal nod to Denny and Marilyn. Having our kids here in Crete, Denny and Marilyn really served as surrogate grandparents for our girls the early years. And don't get me wrong, their grandparents, our parents are still alive and active, and our kids are fortunate for that. But Denny and Marilyn were always there. Denny, for 2 straight years, Denny picked up Anna from preschool and took her to the babysitter as we were coaching football and teaching school. They're at all the birthday parties. Last 2 summers, they've come to Tuxedo Park when we've come to town for both girls playing softball to watch the girls play. and last year came over to Hastings, drove over for Anna's confirmation. The annual football party at Denny's house that went on starting before my time and I think continued after I had left. And the crazy thing about the annual football party, Denny would invite obviously the coaches, he'd invite all the athletes, all the players, and the support staff, and like all the families of all the players. And when I walk in at night and I see some of the families, like, who are you here for? Denny. Oh my God, this is a small group of the football party. Everybody was invited and everybody came, and it was always in October, about halfway through the season at Denny and Marilyn's house. How many helmet lamps did Denny make in his garage over the years for the graduating football seniors? The Doane football seniors forever. A couple years he even took on the Crete High football seniors. But just prior to graduation, the garage over at McElravy's house was a small production line of football helmet lamps, and it was awesome. This is for Denny. This part of the ceremony is for Denny, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention some other special people who impacted through the years the college, the football program. There was a post-game crew when I was an athlete here with that parents and support staff that would bring snacks for after the game over in the field house. Denny and Marilyn, Pat and Eunice, Dave and Jerry, Dennis and Nancy, Gail and Pat, Tom and Connie, Dale and Mona, Fran and Sue. And I know I'm leaving out some other obvious ones, and I apologize for that, but I did want to mention those names also. We oftentimes gave Denny a hard time when he was equipment manager. This is when I was coaching now, because he could take it. It was in jest. It came from a place of love. Doane has an awesome history. Doane athletics, Doane college, the history going all the way back is fantastic. If you did not know this, the Doane football team beat the Nebraska Cornhuskers the first year of football in 1891. Played 4 times. Doane won 1 of those. Sounds crazy, but if you don't believe me, ask Denny. He was there. That one never gets old. Denny is a fantastic storyteller. He may have embellished a time or two over the years, but after every Doane football win, the team sings Merrill, the football version of the Merrill fight song. And what I would do in my coaching years here is I would have Denny explain the story of Merrill Hall and Merrill Fire to the football team so they would understand the impact of the song and what it meant in the history of the university or the college then. And Denny, every year at the beginning of camp, we'd call Denny up and he would tell the story, because this one he really was there as a volunteer fire department in 1969, the night that Merrill Hall burned to the ground, and he would tell the story, and every year it was just as good. And he would tell the story all the way to the end, and he would tell it in such detail that the bell crashed through each floor, and he could hear it crashing floor to floor to floor as the Merrill Hall finally collapsed. Anyway, that's one of the neat things that we had with Denny, to really share a lot of history of Doane College with our team. A couple random useful things that Denny taught me over the years: how to wash white uniforms. We still do this where I'm at now, but my first road game over at Hastings, we got home and the equipment managers got out toothbrushes and they were scrubbing the stains out of all of the white jerseys. I said, "What in the world are you doing?" So, "Well, we got to get the stains out of the white jerseys before they set in." I said, "You're going to be here all night with toothbrushes. Let me show you something." So we grabbed a garbage can, the way Denny and I used to do it after all the road games, and grabbed a hose from the janitor's closet, turned on the hose, put it in the garbage can. 4 or 5 jerseys go in, a little bit of powder detergent, another 4 or 5 jerseys, a little more powder detergent. After about 15 minutes, the garbage can is full of jerseys. Let it sit overnight, throw it in the wash the next day, white jerseys are clean. We still do it. Flag etiquette, we still do this. Somewhere along the years of my coaching here at Doane, it became a thing to bring the U.S. flag and the college flag onto the field when the team took the field. I didn't really realize it. I don't have a military background. So the first time we took the field, I don't know how the flags were set exactly, but Denny told me afterwards, he said, "You know, Coach, when you have 2 flags, the U.S. flag needs to be higher than the other flag. Okay, duly noted. So from there on out, and we still do this, every time you see that team take the field, the US flag, it might be only this much, but it's going to be higher than that second flag. With a college football team, you got a ton of culture, a ton of diversity. A lot of different people come from different places that look differently, that we got to work together, and conversations would come up. And whenever the conversation of racism would come up, Denny would share his military experience. And one of the neat things that he would share is he was in the Navy, and he said, back then, and it's the same way now, but in the toughest environment for young men, which is the U.S. military, there is no skin color, there is no race. When we would would park the ship and go on shore leave, wherever it was that we were in that time, in that day, there's a lot of times that some of our sailors would run into trouble, and we'd be together, and whatever happened, good or bad, we stuck together. And it was a great lesson for the young men to not only learn history, but to learn that lesson in that way. Denny's organization system in the equipment room was a pencil and a notepad. He had a whole roster, he had sizes, jersey numbers, and on a yellow legal pad and a pencil. There was no computer, there was no Excel sheet, nothing like that. And you didn't mess with Denny's organization system there either. He built his own shelves in the back of the equipment room. If we wanted to get something done, sometimes we had to work around a little bit and maybe not tell Denny exactly what we were doing. For instance, I think the year was 2008, and at that point, Doane had not beat Nebraska Wesleyan for several years in football. And as you've heard tonight, that was a problem. So the weekend before, Notre Dame had gone onto the field for pregame warmups. This was on ESPN, wearing their traditional dark blue jerseys. And they went off the field, and when they came back out for kickoff, they were wearing greens. They were wearing green uniforms, and they rolled that day. So we thought that was the most awesome thing we had ever seen. So Wesleyan came to town. We didn't tell the team, and we couldn't tell Denny that we wanted to do this because it was going to mean an extra set of laundry, an extra set of uniforms to wash after the game. But we told our guys we're going to wear the orange jerseys with the black pants, which we rarely did. So we came out for warm-ups in the orange jerseys, and then our coaches went back in ahead of time and set the black jerseys all over the field house floor. Didn't tell Denny, we didn't tell the team. Our guys went in, all right, boys, we're going all black today, and we got Wesleyan coming in. Hurry up and change your jerseys, and let's go get them. As most of you coaches probably realize, the best team won that day, and it wasn't us. But we were ready for a minute. So after the game was over, feeling about this big, I had to sulk over to Denny and apologize for the uniform debacle. And he shrugged his shoulders. He let it slide. He didn't say much of anything. I think he knew we already felt small enough, and we didn't need an extra butt chewing. Lastly, wrap it up, 1964, 2025. Think about this. Has anybody in the history of college athletics anywhere, on any level, had a longer impact than Denny McElravy has done here at Doane? 60 years, 61 years of touching lives. In my years as a head coach, Denny was always present, no matter what. He was always present. And that's the biggest gift, is just being there. He was never lost in a cell phone when somebody needed a conversation. He was never late, ever late. You'd find him after every home game hauling coaches' kids around on the golf cart while he picked up the field markers. This one happened, our first recruit weekend here. He was ready to stand in as the defensive coordinator when the recruits came to town, because our real defensive coordinator was in the process of moving from St. Louis, and we didn't know if he was going to be back in time. So Denny was going to stand in front of the room so we could actually introduce the D coordinator, which was kind of an important thing. Fortunately, Coach Bessler showed up in time, so we didn't have to do that. But he was ready. Denny was ready. He was here for 4 straight years of Tiger football without a loss in the Papik years. 4 years without a loss. Denny was here. Denny was at Findlay, Ohio in '97 when the Tigers were 1 play away from playing for a national title. Denny was there. And the Schwenk years. As I vividly remember on our worst day, I vividly remember Denny sitting across the bus aisle from me as we left the funeral at the high school gym and went to the cemetery to bury one of our boys. Denny was there. And he was here on our best day to see number 1 get toppled in the snow right over there in November 2014. Denny was here. All right, and Denny's present tonight. Congratulations, Denny.
Matt, when Fran is done, I'll have you come back up and you guys can get a picture of, you two can get a picture with Denny holding the plaque. So that's kind of the protocol. Thank you, Matt. Coach Fran Schwenk, former Doane head football coach for 21 years, who was inducted into our Athletic Hall of Fame in 2008. He also mentioned, Matt mentioned Coach Schwenk, and those were some really good years here at Doane. And Fran currently lives in suburban Kansas City, Missouri. And whenever we have an event like this, he is here. He's just here for everybody. He's here for our team. He's here for our program. And so, Coach Schwenk, if you would come forward and share your thoughts about someone very special, Denny McElravy.
I just want to take this time just to publicly thank the McElravy family. You guys are fantastic. My 21 years here at Doane were like 21 days. This man was with us. Matt, you did a great job, super job explaining a lot that Denny has done for us. If you read through the article on him, it talks about working the Super Bowls with our players. We were very fortunate to do that. But we didn't mention all the summer times that he was with us. We had 7-on-7 camps, we had lineman camps, we had tournaments, we had all-star games, you name it, one thing after another. And he was always there, and I can't thank you enough. But I've been wanting to ask you all this time, when we went to leave after 21 years and we were packing our bags at the house, Denny and Marilyn showed up. Now, did you want to make sure that we were getting out of town, or were you there to help us? Okay, probably the best thing, I'm gonna wrap it up real quick. Probably the best way to explain this man right here is that one of my former teammates is a guy by the name of Dr. James Red, Jim Red. And Dr. Red was the athletic director. We were teammates, and then he was the assistant coach, and then became the athletic director at Northwest Missouri State. And he laid the foundation for, I think, 4 national championships. He hired Mel Churchman. Churchman hired his staff. I just knew they were going to be very successful. And Jim, I was telling Jim, I was bragging about Denny. I said, our equipment manager, Dennis McElravy, is going to be inducted into the Hall of Fame at Doane. And Jim, with all the success that man has had, was elated. He said, that is fantastic. He said, to have a man that has worked behind the scenes like he has all those years, be inducted into the Hall of Fame. And it says a lot for the Doane College family to be able to honor somebody like that. And you deserve the honor, Denny, and we're very proud of you and the whole family. In fact, Dan and Donna, gosh, when I first got here, we were just young men just getting out of college, and you were right there with us too. And then Dad just took off, and for 21 days, it felt like 21. For 21 years, it felt like 21 days. But thank you so very much.
Around you. Denny, this is for you. And you can hold that.
Well, you're gonna find out that I'm the world's worst speaker. But I'm gonna read it. We'd like to thank the selection committee and especially Cody Vance for making it possible to be a member of the Hall of Fame. Also want to offer my congratulations to the others inductees tonight. What an honor it is to go with this group. I had polio when I was a kid. I want to start with this. And I was a farm boy. And we farmed with horses to start with, but we had riding horses and everything else. Well, one Sunday, the cousins from town came out and we were riding the horses, and I was on one, and we went out to the pasture and the horse turned and I didn't. And I jammed my right leg. I ended hospitalized in Lincoln for nearly a year, where they put me into a traction because my right leg was 2 inches shorter than the left leg. I was told I would never walk again. I would never be able to do anything in sports. I used this motivation to prove to the doctors they were wrong. I was on the state championship of a relay team, lettered in football, basketball, and track in David City High School. And then go on, I moved my family to Crete on August 1965 and immediately started serving on the chain gang at Doane and Crete High School football games. I also ran the timer, clock, and basketball games for Erickson and them. Head timer of the track team until they got the AccuTrack. And I was an honorary referee for the Doane Night Relays. I would like to thank several football coaches. I didn't get them all, but I got a bunch of them. Al Papikin, I won't repeat them all, and the late Al Papikin, Joe Glenn and Matt Franzen, Fran Swank, Bessler, Tom Hood, Ed Fye, and JJ. Coach Swank asked me to serve as a full-time equipment manager when I retired from the gas company. And over the years, I have had many helpers in the equipment room. One, there was a person who came to Doane, and she went to Coach Swank and wanted to know if she could help with the equipment. And he says, well, I don't know. I don't ask him. She became for 4 years as an assistant to me, and it was great. In the final years, I had the outstanding crew of gentlemen who couldn't do anything but help without any help. I couldn't do anything without them, and that was Judge Judge McCardle, Pat McCardle, Jim Sieper, and Monty Wilksey. I would also like to thank the hundreds of football players that I had the privilege of working with and getting to know personally, watching these young men play the sport they loved and were such a joy to each year. I also want to thank all of the players' parents that was then been able to build a relationship with their sons who were at Doane University. One of the favorite memories is when we had the opportunity to attend 8 Super Bowls with 30 or 40 or 50 football players for 5 weeks. And it was hard to get paid because it was only $1,000 a week for 5 weeks. Anyway, the security at the Super Bowl, it was like the time I was riding in an elevator with Jerry Rice. If you all know who Jerry Rice was. I spoke to many NFL stars and coaches and all that stuff while I was there. And I was in the elevator with Jerry Rice, and we talked. He reached over and turned the elevator off. And we 15, 20 minutes sat there and talked. And then he finally turned it back on, and we went on down. And anyway, Doane College as a host facility of the South Shrine players and all that for over 50 years. I was able to work as an equipment manager for about 20 of those years. And the best part of that being was I was able to work with my grandson, Preston McElravy, as one of the student managers, helping with the Shrine Bowl for 10 years or so. Being around these players and coaches after they returned from the Minnesota Shrine trip that they took, made realize that why they played the game and what they fortunate that they had be healthy and play and raise money for a good cause. In recognition of years I had to work as a student and athlete, countless football helmet lamps were made. Well, they mentioned that, and I have no idea how many I made. And they were in the thousands. All the towns around here, and Doane and Crete and whatever. And I still making them, or was, whatever. And I just as a question, are there any here that have a helmet in their house? There's a few. There's a few. Anyways, get the right paper here. Okay. In recognition for the years of hard work of student athletes and football helmet lamps, yeah. So I forgot to turn it under this way, I didn't look right. Like I said, I'm the worst speaker. Being around Doane became a family affair. My son Dan is a graduate of Doane College, was a player, then became coach for the football team and also coached softball. He was one of the first softball coaches Doane had. He also started back with the chain crew after he stopped coaching and has been made in charge of the chain gang ever since. My son Don also was on the chain gang for years until his work schedule changed and he moved out of town. My daughter Kathy helped with it until she started taking nurses classes at Midland College because Doane didn't have any. My granddaughter Kendra McElravy did laundry for the football team and is a graduate of Doane. My wife Marilyn was also been around in the program for many years. We used to carpool for a couple of coaches where they had no buses either. They said we had no money. Eddie remembers that. And so the coach called me up on about Thursday and say, hey, I need cars or vehicles enough to get 60 kids to football game. So I got people. But then we had been around, others that had been around the program, been along for many years. My wife had been with. We used to, and now it is the names, McCardles, McFarlands, coaches' wives, and many parents that brought goodies and started providing cookies and brownies and all that for the players and after the game. In closing, I can see that this has become my Doane family that I am proud of knowing. Thank you. Also, just to let you know, some people here already know it, but this coming Tuesday, my wife and I are moving to Norfolk. Excuse me. PA, assisted living. And thank you.
We are just about done. Denny, you did great. That was awesome. Great job, my friend. Great job by everybody. My goodness gracious. What a great event. This was awesome. This was so much fun. One thing I want to say before I conclude is that Rick wants to take a photo of all of the inductees and their certificates, their plaques. Marta, I'm going to have Marta grab Joe's plaque, which I have over here, and you can stand in for the photo. So Rick wants to do that right after we're done. I know that everybody wants to say hello to you, and that's fine. But anyway, we want to do that quickly so we get that out of the way. Marilyn, you make the best raisin bars. My goodness gracious! I'll tell you what, those post-game gatherings in the field house, when people weren't looking, I'd take Marilyn's pan of raisin bars and just, single guy working at Doane and not much food, and that was great. One thing I want to clarify, because I kind of had a fumble with a couple of football coaches. Jordan Potts, Jordan, would you stand? He's our D coordinator. Nick Lucky is our offensive line coach. And for some reason, I was sort of running out of gas at that point, which usually doesn't happen when I'm introducing people, but I had a senior moment there, and we got that taken care of. So as we conclude this portion of our special night, I would ask you once again to give a group round of applause for all of our inductees. Remember that the reception will continue in Naira Hall until 11:59 p.m. That's downstairs by the bookstore. No outside beverages, please. Again, we had to curtail the time because of Charlie. Charlie and I walked out of here just before 6 a.m. And so we don't do that anymore, but we have a lot of fun until it's closed.